Welcome back to Alan Vince's Sports Talk, January 24th, 2024. Officer Turgeon's back at it again. Mr. Forney has decided to come on, and we're waiting for one of the mentees, Miss Levy, which will be here in a matter of moments. I did tell her we'd start at 9:30, but, I got really excited because 2 days ago I was begging Vince to do this, and he was like, no, I think I'm going to take a nap, which is okay. I'm fine with that. But now he's here, and I got him up. So
I'm glad someone's all right with it because the teacher wasn't really all that thrilled.
no, I think Mr. Forney was begging me to do it, and he's the one that sets up everything and puts it on our YouTube channel, so I didn't want to mess with him with any of his stuff. So I said, you know what, Vince, this too shall pass, and we're going to do it today. So, Miss Officer Turgeon, thank you so much for coming on again.
Thanks for having me.
It's the microphone's right there, so
Well, thank you for having me.
I think that's like the fourth or fifth time we've had you on, so Officer Turgeon is no stranger to my legendary show, so
Nope,
I appreciate it.
I always love talking sports with you guys.
So we got a jam-packed show today. First of all, Vince, how you doing, brother?
I'm all right. I'm getting ready. We got Tiger Talk tomorrow, and we've got a bunch of news covering from this week, from last week as well.
Oh, Miss Levy has arrived, too. This is going to be a jam-packed, great Al Vince Sports Talk. So, Miss Levy, you can grab a chair. Actually, you could take Forney's because Forney's is walking away. Right. Thanks, Forney, for keeping us where we need to be.
Hey, God, good help.
So first of all, I wanted to say, Miss Levy is first time on the show. Welcome to Alan Vince's Sports Talk.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course, it's my honor. Actually, I didn't know that you were my father's student until this morning. So
Yes.
now it all makes sense. So this is why I needed somebody else. I love Turgeon because Turgeon's been on like 4 or 5 times, but I needed somebody else that could run it a little bit too. And I didn't know you didn't know this much about sports until a couple weeks ago.
Perfect.
So
yeah, I love football. I'm all about it.
So yes, we have a jam-packed show today, guys. Vince said, just like we said, tomorrow we got Tiger Talk, but today, I feel like if me and Vince did this today, it gives us a lot more time tomorrow for our 20 minutes on Tiger Talk. So here's our script. So Vince, where do you want to get cracking? Where are we starting?
I think we should start some NBA talk. I know we've got some couple games, some coach moves, and usual, some big game drops.
I was gonna start
well.
with Doc Rivers getting
That
signed
was
to the
just
Bucks.
yeah.
Just
I didn't even
signed
have
this
that on the
morning.
paper. It was just happened today.
Little interesting. They made a coaching switch, and Turgeon, I'd like to hear you this because I know you're a big NBA guy too. Doc Rivers on the Bucks, interesting or not interesting?
I think it's. I don't know. I mean, I didn't know a whole lot about the other coach, but I know Giannis has kind of voiced a lot that, he wasn't super happy with the coach a lot of times. He said a lot of different things that kind of undermine the coach, which is why I think the Bucks, felt, basically whatever Giannis wants, they're going to give. So Doc Rivers is a guy who has had a lot of success in the league, and he, he knows how to manage. I think being an NBA coach, really, half of it is just managing the personalities on your team. Like, if you have superstars on your team, you got to be able to, keep them focused and keep them happy. And Giannis is a pretty humble superstar in the league, I think. He's not too much of a whiner or anything. He doesn't cause too many issues. But I think Doc Rivers is a guy who's a good leader in the NBA, and he'll, they have a really good team in Milwaukee, so should be. I think it'll be beneficial for them.
What about you, Vince? What do you think?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. I don't think it's not going to be interesting. The Bucks, I wouldn't say they're slipping, but if they're going to want to compete with that for the Boston's number 1 seed, like in the whole league, they got the Oakland behind them, and then the 76ers, I think. And, I mean, like Turgeon said, it's not really about, getting the team better. It's about keeping the team together. So I think if Giannis and the whole team thinks that it's a good decision, then they're gonna show it and play good.
I'm excited. I think it's a little interesting to see what's going to happen in Milwaukee now because they fired a coach in the I don't want to say, I guess I could say the middle of the year, but I mean we're kind of in the middle of the year.
Yeah,
now.
we're about 50 games.
50 games in,
into
so I could say we're in the middle. I say it's interesting how they fired a coach and then hired one 12, 14 hours later. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really rare to have a swap like this. It's like saying, like, this morning, I was talking with my pops this morning. I said, imagine if the Bucks, because he thought I said the Tampa Bay Bucks. I said the Milwaukee Bucks. Imagine if the Tampa Bay Bucks fired Todd Bowles after making it to the playoffs when they weren't even expected to be there. Like,
That does happen, though.
it does. Well, when it's Black Monday in
Yeah.
the NFL, that's when it happens. But, like, it was very interesting how they fired a coach 8 hours before and hired another one 12 hours later. But
Yeah.
I get Doc Rivers is a good coach, and he's been around for a really long time. And he's a former player.
Well,
So-
he'll earn the respect. He'll already, upon walking in that, that building, he'll already have the respect of the Bucks. And the Bucks are a really good team. I mean, they got,
They
Dame
can
Li-
hang with anybody for
they
sure.
got Dame Lillard, Giannis,
Game time.
yeah,
Yeah.
Chris Middleton.
He already hit a game-winning shot already this year.
Chris
Like,
Middleton
game
is
time.
a great, compliment to Giannis. So I mean, they're a really good team. So as a Celtics fan, it kind of makes me a little worried. That they
Got a
now
coach
have
upgrade.
better. Yeah, they did upgrade their coaching situation. So
So what about you, Ms. Levy? What do you think?
I couldn't agree with Mr. Turgeon anymore. I think that with Doc Rivers on that team, between Giannis and the rest of them, if he can properly manage those personalities well, they're going to have a stacked roster. And that roster is probably going to be pretty feared by a lot of NBA teams, probably solely because Doc Rivers is the coach and he's got so many bags, so many tricks in the bag. So he does know a lot, and he also has a lot of other insight from other teams that he's coached to kind of pass on to the Bucks, which I think is going to benefit them greatly.
So the Celtics did lose their off the Doc Rivers topic. I think it'll be really interesting for you Milwaukee fans out there. Celtics did lose their first home game, which I wanted to ask you about this because I know I never asked you, Officer Turgeon. What was your experience like to witness it? You still have the best home record in the NBA, but to lose your first game to the Nuggets in a nail biter, 119-117 at TD in front of your home crowd.
well, let's
was bound to
let's
happen,
not forget
though.
the Denver
Yeah.
Nuggets are the defending champs. Like they didn't. That's
They
a
didn't
good team
lose
they
to, like,
lost.
the Spurs or something.
Yeah, that's a good team they lost to. And yeah, Jokic. I mean, I watched that game and I just kept thinking, man, like he is
He's their superstar.
he's the straw that stirs the drink on that team. Like even just last night, not against the Celtics, but he had a triple double. The guy just does everything for the Nuggets. And then you also mix in Jamal Murray. Trying to think of somebody. Michael Porter Jr. Aaron Gordon. That's a really, really good team.
Like they're a bunch of nobodies. Like they're players that have been there. So
Yeah, Reggie Jackson, I believe, is on the team. So they're a really good team, and it was a close one. I believe the Celtics held the lead with a couple minutes left, but they just couldn't. Jokic had a couple big baskets, so it's going to happen. You're not going to win every game at home, or you're not going to win every game in general. So
no, of course. And I think that it was bound to happen at some point. Eventually, the Celtics were going to lose, and they still hold the best record in the NBA at home, and they're the best team in the NBA. So
Celtics,
I think so.
yeah.
I don't see who else is better than them because I don't think they're better than. I don't think the Timberwolves are better. The Nuggets are not better, even though they beat them in the head-to-head matchup. But I still got the Celtics. My pick at the beginning of the year was the Celtics winning it all.
Yeah.
So I'm still standing on that in the month of January right now, when we have about 2, 3, 4 months until the finals is always in June, and the playoffs always start at the end of April. So we do have a long 2.5 months, but it'll be interesting to see what happens, bro.
Well, the East will be tough, with, like we already talked about, the Bucks, but then, you mix in the 76ers as well. Joel Embiid dropped 70 the other night.
Yeah,
which
that's another story.
which is
what's
crazy.
What's all y'all's opinion on Embiid breaking a record up with Michael Jordan now, with like the only player to drop 60 to 65 points,
Yeah.
I think it was like only 9 players have done it.
and he's joined that class for sure.
In a faster pace, too, right? Those
And
guys-
it's a different type of basketball now, though. There's a lot of ISO stuff. Back then, they would just take it to the basket like it was no tomorrow.
True.
I mean, I feel like nowadays it's just isolation, which I hate to say because, like, I'm still going to defend my era of basketball, even though old people nowadays think that. Well, it's true. Think that the 80s and 90s of basketball they had the better players, but it just wasn't. It's not the same level of basketball. It's different.
I'm one of these people so I grew up in the early 2000s. So my generation was more like Allen Iverson, Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce was a beast. Kevin Garnett.
Tracy
too.
McGrady, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett. So
Rajon Rondo.
as far as like Larry Bird,
Wow.
Magic Johnson, all those, Dominique Wilkins, that was a little before my time. But, maybe this isn't the popular opinion, but I'm always kind of a guy who says if you put Larry Bird in today's NBA, I don't think he would quite be the legend that, maybe he'd be like a really good player, but and that this might have upset some people, me saying that, but I think if you put him in today's NBA, he would lack the athleticism, to compete at a high level. Not saying he'd be a slouch or anything. He might still be a pretty.
Well, he's also older though, and I mean, that's like saying if you put LeBron in Jordan's era. Like someone told me the other day that at my job, like if LeBron was in Jordan's era, he would dominate him. Like I think you guys forget that Magic Johnson and Larry Bird existed, and those two are in the top 3 or 4 in my opinion. Like if I had to choose a top 4, it'd probably be Jordan. I'd put LeBron on that list for sure at 2. I'd put even Kobe at like 3 or 4, and Larry and Magic are right there.
Yep.
So it's not like those guys didn't exist.
And
Well, you also have
Shaq.
to respect the time period as well. It's
Like,
like if you
those
put
are two
a
different eras. Too.
it's like you put like a 1960 car in like a race right now. It's like it's not gonna.
That's
It's
a
not
good.
gonna
That's a
do
good.
the
The
job.
driver is still like
That's a
it's-
good
It's not gonna do
comparison.
the
I like
job.
that.
That's a
It's-
good comparison though.
So you can't really dock that, and it was a much different playing style, different training.
Because
different whole
nowadays
league.
it's just like ISO. Back then they would do a little bit of everything. So, but like it's just a different era and like it's different times. But anyways, off the whole great NBA topic we have, what's next?
Well, we also got, the Spurs with the Houston. We covered that, the 70-point. I think, Tristan Thompson is
Yeah, who cares?
suspended for growth hormone.
Yeah, didn't he
Whatever.
violate like
Does
the
that surprise
drug and
anybody?
alcohol substance or whatever? So yeah, but he didn't really do the best he could. That was a terrible decision by him. Suspended for 25 games.
Well, I don't know. He was. I don't know if he was ever married to Khloe Kardashian or.
Tristan
I know they have a.
Thompson?
Yeah, I know they have a child together. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's put himself in the spotlight by dating a Kardashian, and
Seems like they don't do well after that.
no, yeah,
That doesn't seem to end well
Doesn't
for sure.
seem like it mixes very well once you mix a Kardashian and an NBA player.
yeah,
Seems like it went sideways, which it did
I think
because he
Devin-
got suspended for 25 games.
Devin Booker
so.
was dating one of them too. Actually, quite a few of them had dated, but I mean, it's not really related to his suspension. But
No, I'm,
Nah,
But,
well,
I-
it's just an extra.
I don't
thing
think
that
many
we
people
have,
are.
so-
Yeah, I don't think many people are huge Tristan Thompson fans. So,
yeah.
and he's not like a dominant player. So
And he's not
it's-
like anyone that anyone would talk about on a normal daily basis. So, anyways, moving on with the NBA, Vince. You want to
well,
go?
I have this Blazers thing. I don't know if it happens all the time, but they're protesting a loss after.
Protest a loss.
Yeah, they're protesting a loss after the head coach was trying to give a timeout and they didn't, and then they got a foul.
It was a
when
technical foul because they ran out of timeouts.
No, he had the timeout.
He had it.
He was trying to call a timeout and then they didn't allow it, and then the team did a
okay.
foul, which got them 3-point
That's
shots.
a technical
And then
foul. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
is it
Yeah.
that the ref didn't recognize
No.
that the coach was calling the timeout?
yeah, they didn't give him a timeout.
Which is, I mean, in sports, there's an element of human error. Just because you call timeout doesn't always mean that the ref is going to hear you or see you doing it. So,
Unless if you like run on the court and just go.
He was like right behind the ref, like doing it.
yeah, I mean,
So I mean, I've never seen a loss get protested. So I mean, it was just
That's
interesting.
like in the NBA or like even in the MLB when you call timeout like for a second to breathe like before you go up for your next pitch. In the NBA, if the referee like runs up to you like that, there's a reason for that because he's trying to get a timeout before they pass the ball in before 5 seconds.
well, I think
but you have to have possession.
I
for
think
it, too.
honestly, in the past couple of years, in the NFL and the MLB, in the NBA, how you can challenge things now, like we've almost started to like totally eliminate all of the human error. You know, I mean, the
Because
referees.
they needed to bring in this, or else everything would just fall apart.
You know, everything can be challenged now. Everything can be reviewed. Yeah, it's just like you know, it's not so, you know, back in the day it'd be like, hey, the call was made and that's what it is. You know, if it, remember, you might be too young to remember, but there was a guy named Armando Galarraga who threw a perfect game for the Detroit Detroit Tigers. And it was ninth inning, 2 outs. He had a perfect game, and then
You walked the guy, didn't you?
no, ground ball. Galarraga goes to first, covers first base, and gets there before catches the ball before the runner. So perfect game, but the ref called him safe. So he eliminated. But in today's era, they might be able to review that and give the guy say, hey, actually, never mind, he was out. So let's give him. He did get the perfect game, but back then they didn't have the ability to review it, and therefore Galarraga didn't get the perfect game. But he actually handled it extremely well. The pitcher, he didn't make a huge scene. He handled it with a lot of class. And same with the umpire. Once he realized that he made the incorrect call, I remember he gave like a press conference where he was kind of broke down crying, saying, "Hey, I screwed up this kid's perfect game that he should have had." So it was a good moment. Then they handled it with a lot of respect. But so it's a good whether it's a good thing or a bad thing that now everything is reviewed and refs. The ref's initial call can be overturned by replay. It's just introducing more technology into sports. So I don't know what side of the fence you're on there, if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But
no, I think that's great, actually. Now that the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, how they have replay challenges actually fixed our sports. Because when these guys make mistakes, 'cause they are human, they're going to make mistakes. So the fact that we have evidence to overturn or the call stands, or you just call up, you put on the headset, or they tell you, just makes life so much easier. Because back then, they didn't have any of that. So whatever they would call, it would be the terminology of the game. So I'm glad that they have a system that controls that now.
Replay sucks. It's the biggest problem in sports right now. They can't let the refs just be the refs and call the game. It's an imperfect sport, and they're trying to make it perfect frame by frame. It's like circumcising a mosquito. It is one of the most difficult things, and it takes it takes really the enjoyment not only out of sports, but the unpredictability, the room for error. You go frame by frame by frame and call holding on every single NFL play if you want. And taking goals off the board because they were offsides 45 seconds ago in hockey. It's balls, whether or not the ball was inbounds or out of bounds in an NBA game, the ref makes the call and then you move on. We don't need to go frame by frame for 25 minutes. Like I said, circumcising a mosquito. I hate replay. Despise it.
Well, you heard it from him first. Mr. Forney gives him his take about how terrible replay is. See, I think it's pretty helpful.
No, that's a take.
Okay. That is a take, and that is something I'll never forget.
What do the kids call that? Standing on business? And,
standing on business.
That's standing on business right there.
I was gonna say
that's from the top rope.
Yeah. So,
well, I think replay. I don't know if it takes more of the edge off refs, because if they're just gonna think like, oh, if whatever call I make, it's gonna get replayed.
Get fixed.
So it's like, but they do also have a lot of stress on them because they can get dropped. Their jobs aren't so secure, and I don't know.
I mean, I agree with you. I feel a little bad for him because there are some refs in certain situations who forget what game it was, but with MLB when that catcher or the fan caught the ball and then dropped it, and they weren't sure on whether or not that would be considered a home run or an error because he dropped the ball back into the field. So it's kind of one of those things where I can see where some things are beneficial, but I also agree with Mr. Forney that back in the day, tie goes to the runner. So it kind of kept the odds very open versus, if you can go back and look at that replay for certain teams like the Chiefs or teams that are usually pretty dominant, can kind of correct the score and swing it pretty fast if they want to.
So I like your guys' takes on that. Vince, do you mind if we move on to the MLB offseason?
Well, I mean,
that's next on the list. That's what I'm looking at.
All right.
So we got Now, this kind of bothered me personally as a Yankees fan because this is a guy I really wanted out of the bullpen. Josh Hader from the Houston Astros.
To the Houston Astros.
From the Milwaukee Brewers, excuse me, to the
From
Houston.
San Diego.
From San Diego to the Houston Astros. Thank you for correcting me, Vince.
San Diego.
So, now as a Yankees fan, I really wanted Josh Hader for personal reasons. One, it would help out our bullpen. Two, I can't get mad at the Yankees this offseason because they heard it from their fans last year how terrible they were. And they went out and got Juan Soto. They have Alex Verdugo. They have Trent Grisham. Marcus. I'm gonna be a little interested on Marcus Stroman because he has a lot of internet problems. So if he has a terrible start, he'll start
Internet problems? Is that what you
meaning
said?
if he doesn't pitch well, he'll go on the internet and say how terrible this is, how terrible your team is. He'll trash talk you.
Oh.
So the Yankees have to get him. Yeah. So the
Yeah,
Yankees
okay.
have to stop him from getting to any of that because if he does, it's not gonna be a fun time for him in New York. Now he says he's excited for that, which, okay, but you can't do that if you have a terrible start. You have to be ready to pitch the next time you're out there, not going out there and trashing your team because you had a horrible start. Because he used to do that when he was in Chicago. So
Well, only had a handful of starts in Chicago as well. I mean, he was out for the.
remember, he
First.
started as a New York Met too.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was good at the Mets, but I think I'd like to see him start more. I mean, I really liked him going to the Cubs. I really thought the Cubs would keep him because the Cubs are trying to get back, especially with Milwaukee slipping out from that number one for the Central, and
that
and
Hader trade was crazy in my book, bro. Because think about it, now he's on the Astros.
well, yeah, one of the Astros. His bullpen guys are out for the year. I don't know who it was, but
What was it? Was it
I don't know.
Oh, that hard throwing what's that guy's name? That hard throwing right-hander, wasn't it Presley?
I don't know. One of them's out, so it's a gap fix for Houston. So it's a good
No,
pickup
I
for them.
for Houston fans, that's good. But I personally wanted him, but he wanted a lot more money than what he was getting. Like the Yankees offered him a 5-year something deal, and he wanted more.
Well, it's
So-
5 years over 90.
5 years, 95 mil. Aroldis Chapman is a Pittsburgh Pirate. Now I feel like this is leverage for a team that wants to at the trade deadline this year that wants to get him a contender. This is leverage for Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's only a 1 year, and if Chapman does good on Pittsburgh and he gets to the trade deadline, goes to a contending team, I mean, Chapman's got to be feeling really good right now after the season he put up last
And he's
year.
a World Series champ again. So, congratulations to Chapman. James Paxton, LA, 1 year, 11.
LA Dodgers?
Yep.
How do
I
they?
feel like the Dodgers, and I quote, the Dodgers have literally no excuse this year. I do not want to hear it. They
like-
got literally everybody on God's green earth, bro.
How do they even?
So-
Every time I'm like, how do they even have the money to pay any of these?
Because
guys?
they're the number one team in the MLB with market pay, or whatever.
It's quite unreal. And when I look at it through especially if you look at it through the years from 1990 to now, it's more, there's less caps and more, if we have this money, we can get whatever player we want, which is kind of, in my personal opinion, I think it's very unfair to a lot of teams
That don't have the money.
that don't have the money or have already exhausted on, say, a superstar player that they've agreed to pay $343 million over the course of 11 years.
Look, for example, look at Shohei Ohtani. 10 years, 70 mil.
But he's a good guy. He
700.
put his contract on hold and is willing to share that with the rest of the team so it doesn't dock the rest of
And
the
they
team.
got Yamamoto. Who else do they have, Vince? I could go
They're
on
stacked.
for days and days who they have. Their
Well, they
rosters
still,
is
the Mookie.
stacked.
They still got Mookie Betts.
They still have
correct?
Freddie Freeman. Like,
Freeman.
they're loaded, bro. So, and they have no excuse. If they don't make it to the World Series this year, that's sad. So,
I mean, they are the poster boy of the MLB, especially internationally. So I can imagine
well,
how
because
much
of
they're
Ohtani,
going.
bro. Because of the whole,
Well, not even before. Like, if you ask anyone who, it's pretty sure they'll say Dodgers if they're not sure. Like it's like saying you're a Yankees fan or a Lakers fan. It's like being a Cowboys, Yankees, and Laker fan. Just
Yeah.
taking the
well,
winning
baseball's
team.
a little, it's like, I think the market that you're in, obviously that's why you always see the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Dodgers, like they're able to spend the most because they're the biggest markets, right?
The Sox haven't really been spending that much
No,
money. They have the
unfortunately.
money. The funny thing is, Vince, your team has the money. Your owner doesn't want to do it, though. Like, he doesn't want to get off himself and tell himself, hey, well, you've been doing the last 4 years, hasn't been working. So if he actually decides to spend money and could grab somebody in free agency, maybe that's what the Red Sox need. Now, granted, have the Sox been better than the Yankees in this era? Absolutely. I'll give you that. But in the last 4 years, the Red Sox haven't really been doing that much because their owner doesn't want to get off himself and say, hey, maybe if I get up and actually want to do something and not sit down and do nothing all off season, things could be a lot different.
Well, like I don't know if it came from the owner or the GM. They said they're gonna try to grow internally, which is like their prospect system and their
You
drafting.
guys have a stack prospect system, I do know that.
Well, yeah. So they're saying they're banking on that, so they don't have to spend a lot of money. But I feel like that kind of unattracts players from coming there, since they're not going to be the main focus. Like if the Red Sox go out and get some high level guy, and they're like the whole team is trying to focus on like the ground up AA, AAA guys, it's like I don't know how far they're going to get with that. And
Stay one day at a time, bro.
And the owner, I mean, if he keeps, I mean, Fenway's gonna get packed either way, like
Either
no
way,
matter
Fenway's
what.
always going to be packed no matter
So
what.
no matter how jacked the prices are, I mean, people are just gonna keep coming
People are
and
still
coming.
going to go. So,
That's
absolutely.
true.
But, okay, Joey Gallo was Washington for 1 year, $5 million.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess I like Joey Gallo, and I know that.
And then Reese Hoskins.
I know you loved him on the Yankees. So.
I did not love him on the Yankees. Absolutely not. 2 years. He was an absolute waste of money that did not know how to play in New York. And batted like a $197. It was awful. But still had he had like 20 homers, but his problem is he would walk, but he would get cookies and he wouldn't do anything. 2 years, $34 million for Reese Hoskins to Milwaukee. And of course, we got Hall of Famers: Joe Mauer, Todd Helton, Adrian Beltre, and Gary Sheffield.
No, I put
Gary Sheffield is
out. He is
out
in
of
the
the Hall of Fame, but those
yeah,
three
the-
legends
the
are going
voting-
to the Hall of Fame in 2024.
No, he's not out of the Hall.
He's not out of it.
the
but
voting,
He's
yeah.
not in the voting because he got outvoted.
Yeah,
Why?
there's
Why
this-
is that? Because of
Because
the
it's like the 10th time. If it's
'Cause
like
of
you have,
this-
yeah. So after 10
PEDs?
times, if you don't get a certain percentage of votes, you're out. Like,
Okay, so you can only get nominated for the Hall of Fame so many times.
yeah, and then if you don't get a cap number
Have
of
they,
votes.
I don't know as much about baseball, but have they allowed anyone in the Hall of Fame yet who has been proven to have used steroids?
I don't think Sosa is in the Hall of Fame. I'm
Sammy
not.
Sosa.
I don't know
Is-
if he's in the Hall of Fame.
Is there anyone else?
Is Barry Bonds on the Hall of Fame?
No,
No.
he got denied last
Bonds
year.
got denied.
year.
Is Mark McGuire?
I don't think so.
I mean, that was the.
Something tells me the reason why.
I doubt.
And,
I
and
doubt
this,
it.
this is just my take. I could be wrong, but I feel like the reason why they don't put Bonds in is because of his steroid era stuff. Which
Well,
that's-
of course, that is the only reason.
That's the
why
only
he-
reason why. Because it was the steroid era was absolutely insane. And
The numbers are definitely there for
I
him
don't-
to be in the
well,
Hall of Fame.
I don't
It's
think
just-
they should be punished for that. I mean,
No,
I think the Hall of Fame is more than numbers. It's like what you did for baseball.
It's what they did
and-
for the
And
company.
I think that, I mean,
Exactly.
Bonds, Sosa, I mean, imagine those home run derbies, especially at Fenway with McGuire. I mean, that was
those
like
were just
the-
insane.
that
Okay,
was a
Mr.
selling
Forney's
point.
got another take. What do we got?
Baseball's really shooting themselves in the foot by not letting these guys in, because they're the best players of their generation, steroids or not. And now what's happening is that they're sitting on the ballot, not getting voted in, and instead they're voting in guys who aren't Hall of Famers. Todd Helton is not a Hall of Famer. Adrian Beltre is not a Hall of Famer. Joe Mauer, borderline. But these guys are not. Al, you got one game, and you need to win. You going to take Manny Ramirez, A-Rod, or Adrian Beltre?
A-Rod.
I'm taking A-Rod or Manny.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
got to
I'll
win a
take both
game.
of them
You
on my team.
you taking Joe Mauer or you taking Barry Bonds?
Barry Bonds.
Of course.
That's not even a question.
So these guys that are getting in now they're just getting in because the ballot's so full of the Clemens and the
Yeah.
McGuire. So you have to put somebody in, and now we're throwing in Todd Helton, who again only hit home runs because he was in Coors Field where the balls travel. Yeah, and the balls travel farther. If he played in Arizona, he wouldn't have had half the home run numbers. So baseball is really embarrassing itself. The BBWAA is just sad. put the guys in, put them in their own hall or something. But
You know what,
to
Fournier,
not
I
to,
kinda-
to
I kinda
not
agree with you.
recognize, to not even recognize their abilities, or even that their era existed, is really
Ridiculous.
stupid. I mean, imagine if we did that to history. We just ignored a part of American
Just forget
history
about
because we
9/11
didn't
like
like
it
it.
never happened.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
be
Or the Boston
stupid.
bombing or anything.
America's got its warts, and we actually talk about them in history. Baseball can't even be bothered. Lame.
Well, you heard it from him first. Another amazing take from Forney. Actually, I honestly wasn't expecting that whatsoever because Mr. Forney cannot stand the MLB, so I'm surprised he even said anything about it.
I agree with him as well though, because like, Mark. I mean, I loved Mark McGuire and Sam. Like, there was one year when I was in elementary school, it was Mark McGuire versus Sammy Sosa, and the two of them were just mashing home
Were
runs
they
every
like an
single.
MVP candidates? Or?
They were both like 60 home run guys, like in the same season. They were. It was really exciting to watch, but everybody was juicing in that time. I mean, even I remember.
Balls were juiced, though.
I remember there was a
Come
sport.
on.
There was a Sports Illustrated cover with Nomar Garcia Parra, and he was like, a skinny guy his whole career. And then all of a sudden, you see him on the Sports Illustrated cover, and you're like, "Holy crap! This guy looks like John Cena or something." Like, And Nomar was, he was a great player for the Red Sox, but it just
Yeah,
everyone.
Garcia Parra might be one of the greatest Red Sox players I've ever
It
seen.
was just how things were at that era, and they allowed it at that time. Like they turned a blind eye to it. They knew it was at that time it was good for the sport. But then now you have all these traditionalist baseball guys who are in charge of voting people into the Hall of Fame, and they're trying to hold on to these old traditional values that it's kind of snobby in a way, it seems, but they should just allow them in. I mean, they were great for the sport. They, when I was a kid, that's who I think of when I look at baseball. When I was a kid, it was Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, Jeff Bagwell, Nomar Garcia Parra, A-Rod,
Jeter,
yeah, Piazza, Jeter,
Posada,
yep, Gary Sheffield, like
Bernie Williams,
Frank Thomas,
Big Frank, Big Pop. You can't forget about Big Poppy.
No, you can't forget about Big Poppy. I have to agree with Officer Turgeon and Mr. Fournier. Especially, it seems like that MLB is trying to take that whole era of the 1990s, early 2000s, and just wipe it clean.
It's like forget like it ever happened, which is so messed up because these guys have done so much for this amazing national pastime of our sports.
Yes, and they actually kind of, in the early 90s and late 90s, they made MLB what it is. I mean, like Officer Turgeon said, when you've got these guys in a home run derby, slugging home run after home run, and they're like
And
hitting
breaking
65.
records left and right.
It's incredibly amazing to watch. And as a kid, you don't think, oh, wow, they might be juicing. That's not even a thought in your
topic
head.
back in that day. But I get exactly what you're saying, Miss Levy. Like, these guys don't get enough credit for everything they've done for this business.
Agreed.
And I guess they're just odd men out because of steroids, which is messed up. But anyways, what are you going to do? The MLB is the MLB. They take their favorites, take them or leave them.
one day
They're going to realize how much they've done for this business.
one day they'll
so.
realize, maybe when they get some of this old baseball committee out of the Hall of Fame committee,
Yeah, whatever.
get some new blood in there.
What's your opinion, Vince? Do you think this is all a fuzz because they're just forgetting about everything that these guys have done?
Well, I think it's trying to repent against they're trying to. It's gonna seem like they're trying to support it, like steroid use. But it's what happened back then. It's like, are they not gonna induct any pictures for using spider tack? Are they gonna put an X right on Garrett Cole's name?
Probably.
If he doesn't.
I mean, if they do that with steroids, then they're probably going to do it with someone like that. I mean, even though Cole got caught so easily that it was so obvious, Barry Bonds did too. And just because these guys cheated doesn't mean they're not going to. I mean, I don't want to say you penalize them for it, but I mean, that's kind of what they're doing. So, because think about it, Bonds still isn't there, and he's been out of the MLB for a million years now.
And Roger Clemens is not in, right?
Roger Clemens is another guy that's so not talked about who he should be. He's one of the greatest pitchers I've ever seen.
For
So,
sure. But he's
the Rocket, buddy. That's what they called him.
But he's linked to the steroids. So, anyways, well, let's switch topics.
Switch topics, but
let's go to a different
I know
sport.
you guys enjoyed. I like the MLB conversation. This has been a good show.
This is
This
probably
has been probably one of the best shows I've had. So
yeah. I'm not a huge baseball guy, but
I mean, it's off season right now too, so
It's
Yeah.
not like it's any big deal.
But I
So-
do. That is a hot topic. The Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
who
I mean,
can
that's something
who's allowed in?
That's something I can talk about for like
Yeah.
a while. So I got what is it? College football, Vince.
well, we can go to whatever you want to do
Yeah,
football
it's
first.
college football's next.
All right.
Kalen DeBoer, Washington, Alabama, 10+ points players, transfer portal.
All right, Al, you're just reading it.
I'm not reading it wrong. I'm
No.
reading it right.
Washington
What's-
head coach to Alabama, replacing Nick Saban.
Huge.
Oh wait, yeah.
So
yeah, I'm
he
sorry
just
about
dropped everything, went to Alabama. I think he took their
that. Ferrari.
their
He has
five.
Ferrari, and he's like, see ya.
They
I
flew
think-
him there in a matter of what, 48 hours?
And I think he took some players with him too. I think the players at the transfer portal already accepted into Alabama.
What's your take on the transport portal?
Start
I don't think the transfer portal's killing it. I think the NIL is a big part of it. I think college football's not really about the team name as much as football. I think it's players are gonna be like, I know my value. I can go over here. The pay's gonna be great. If you're good, you're gonna get paid great. But I think the more playing time you get, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, they
Like,
want
you don't-
particular conferences.
Yeah, I don't think you have to be from Alabama or Clemson to get the #1 overall pick. I mean, if you're good enough, they're gonna pick you up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, hey, look at. I hate to touch on Josh Allen, but he certainly didn't come from like your top school, and he got drafted rather quick.
Yeah, but coaching definitely helps. I mean, Saban has probably output like almost the 10th of the league, 5th of the league at this point.
He is a historic coach.
So, but I know a lot of Alabama had like the worst drop rate of like commits to going to Alabama. They just drop. They're going other places. Speaking of, a lot of them are going to Ohio State, which hey, not mad about. But it's gonna be interesting.
Vince is a big Buckeyes fan, if you guys didn't know. So.
Buckeyes.
Yeah.
All right.
So we've got a lot of the pool is gonna spread out a little bit. The wealth, Alabama's not gonna be that, or they could come back as strong as
That's why
they
they
could.
play the games, brother.
I think they'll still be all right. I mean, I know I've read a lot about players transferring and stuff like that, but I don't know. It'd be hard to imagine that Alabama would just drop off, right? Like that they would just become some unranked team now that Nick Saban's not there.
I think for the next like 2-3 years probably they're gonna stay, but it's gonna be like that underclass, like that high school, like that committing, that because Nick Saban was like the point.
Yeah,
that coaching,
he was,
so.
but I mean, they still have like a top-notch facility there. I mean, they have a great fan base. I mean, the people in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa, they like eat, sleep, breathe. Their Crimson Tide. So yeah, so
Bama rolling the tide.
we'll
baby, rolling
we'll
that
see
tide.
we'll see how it plays. It's a new era without Nick Saban. So we'll see how it goes.
I just hope that there's not like the top team. Like of course Georgia's gonna be Georgia and like those name brand teams, but I like to see the little teams come out and like maybe even compete with those, not those Alabama versus
Those
whatever
so-called-
games at 70-20.
so-called, like, B teams, but then compete with the A teams. Is what Vince is trying to say.
Yeah.
Maybe make some of these bowls a little bit more fair for some of these guys.
I would say so for sure.
So they're not getting completely blown out.
Yeah.
Right.
So it'll be nice to see.
So what else,
So-
Vince? We have, I think it's in Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan. I mean, Harbaugh's been getting some offers around, some interviews, and I'm thinking, is Michigan going to start looking for another head coach?
I mean,
or
they
are
just
gonna-
won the NC, so I mean,
Harbaugh can move on. As
They
well.
could.
I think Harbaugh's going to the NFL with his brother.
so you think he's gonna be a part of the Ravens?
I don't think he's going to be a part of the Ravens. I think he's going to pick a team, and it's going to be him and his brother going up against each other, and that's going to be how they do it.
I think whatever Bill doesn't go for, I think Harbaugh's going to go to.
Spot on.
So as then it turns to Michigan, Michigan's going to start to look for a head coach. I don't know if they're going to do it internally. I don't know Michigan's head coaching or coordinator situation, but it'll be interesting to see. A lot
The
of
big question is, where is Bill Belichick gonna end up? Mr. Forney, come here. I gotta ask you that because
I guess
you're
we're
a big.
going to football.
I know.
Atlanta.
Let's just switch because that's the biggest topic. So
Yes.
what do you got, Belichick? Where do you think he's gonna land up?
TV.
TV,
TV. Television.
Really?
Broadcaster.
He's gotten interviewed by the Falcons twice. So.
I know, but they haven't hired him yet.
Does Bill Belichick really seem like a TV personality.
I think people.
He definitely
I think
does,
people would be
but-
surprised. I think he would be better on TV than Brady. I think Brady's going to be a mess on TV. I think he's going to be awful.
It's gonna be similar to
But-
Gronk.
I think that if he was going to go to Atlanta, they would have already hired him because he's already had 2 interviews and then nobody took him. And I think we overestimated the market. I think part of the problem right now is you guys have been talking about. There's so many good coaches available during this year. You got the guy from the Lions, the offensive coordinator there. You got Mike Vrabel on the market. Pete Carroll's on the market. Jim Harbaugh's on the market. So there's so many other options. And right now, quite frankly, Bill Belichick's stock is at its lowest based on the last season that they had and the dumpster fire with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. So he's better off taking a year to do TV, get back in the good graces, make everybody laugh, smile, and giggle, and say, "Oh, I didn't realize how funny and what a great personality Belichick has," and then coming back next year when people hopefully forget about this terrible 4-16, whatever that record was. So if I'm him, I'd take a year off, go get whatever $25 million by Fox. They'll overpay him for him, and then go from there. I also think his demands are too high because he wants to be in charge of the finances. He wants to be the GM. He wants to be the head coach. And so when your demands are that high, your market's going to shrink. So my guess is TV.
I don't think he's going to have those high demands anymore because, he got away with it from the Patriots, but I think any organization is going to be like, that's not how things roll.
And he's old. He's old too. He's
He's like 73.
in his 70s. Yeah. I know he's still got it, but like Mr. Forney said, he wants complete control over. As Bill Parcells once said. He wants to not only cook the food, but he wants to shop for the groceries too. So, it's so he and so if you're a team like the Falcons, you hire him for 2 years, but you got to kind of deal with giving up all of your, what do you do with your GM at that point?
I have some weird feeling that he's going to L.A. I think him and Justin Herbert would be a really good fit.
I think the Chargers is the best fit for him. But I mean, to go off of what Officer Turgeon said there too, because if you're going to commit all that, if you're going to give this guy full control of your organization, it's not like it's going to be for a decade. It's going to be for like 2 years. He's going to break Shula's record, and then he's going to leave, and then you're right back
it's time for retirement.
you're right back to square one. So as an organization, why would you want to? It's not like getting a top line free agent at the end of his career that you can throw at quarterback or throw at point guard or something like that. It's this guy wants full control for 2 years and then he's out. So that's a big commitment for not a lot of time. So that's why I think a lot of teams are passing on him. But you're right, Al. If the Chargers or the Cowboys, they're literally a Bill Belichick away from the Super Bowl.
Near the Dallas Cowboys, let alone if he even touches their field.
There's no hope for the Cowboys anyway.
They're keeping Mike McCarthy. That's a
Even
dumb
Mike
idea.
McCarthy is such to be down.
Keeping Mike McCarthy and
Makes
Daxton
me
is
happy, makes me
horrible.
smile, boss. Not gonna cap. So
And I also think with Bill, like Forney said, I think not him being selfish, but he wants that win record. I think that's his only motivation.
that's his number one goal.
So if he needs to sell the next 2 first-round picks for a free agent that's gonna help him win, I think that's a shot he's gonna be willing to take.
That's a good point, Vince, because it's like, is he, how invested is he going to be in this team? Is he only looking out for himself and his chase for Don Shula, or does he really want to turn another team around when he's only going to be there, 2 years or so? It's tough to tell, but I don't know. I thought he should have probably just hung it up and retired, but he's a guy. He wants to win and he wants to, beat Shula for whatever reason. Even though
That's his personal goal. I mean, he has 6, 7 Super Bowl rings. He's retiring no matter what. He's retiring as the greatest coach of all time.
But
So,
then, what if he goes to the Falcons or another team, and makes a couple bad draft, which he has made a lot of bad draft picks with the Patriots, for 2 years.
not
And he,
pass-wise, though. In pass-wise, he's got you like one of the greatest players ever to win you 6 Super Bowls.
he's had some decent picks. I mean, obviously,
You're talking about recently. I'm talking about in his time. He's drafted the best players of all time.
Yeah, but that was
a team together.
that was almost 22 years ago that he drafted
Don't
Brady,
forget about those guys, I'm just saying.
I guess it'll always be the debate of how much of the success was Brady or Belichick or, the combination of both, but we're never going to see that combination again. So can Bill do it on his own? Clearly ever since Brady left, he really hasn't been getting it done. They did make the playoffs the first year with Mac Jones, but obviously,
where's Mac Jones gonna end up too?
Well, he's still under contract. It would make the most sense to just keep him.
He could go to the Minnesota Vikings.
It would make the most sense to probably just keep him, or trade him. He's still under his rookie contract, so they're not paying him a whole lot. Honestly, don't rule out the fact that they decide to roll with Mac Jones another year. And
I keep saying I believe in Mac, but he needs to actually prove it for me to actually believe that he's legit.
Well, now that we're on the topic, Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper's, for those of you who don't know, he comes out with a mock draft every year of the NFL, and he, a lot of people put a lot of stock into his mock drafts, because I don't know, he's just the guy who knows the most, on this topic. So he has he put out his first mock draft yesterday, and it had obviously Caleb Williams going number 1, Jaden Daniels going number 2 to the Commanders, and then the Patriots taking Drake May out of UNC. So
man out of North Carolina.
Yeah, UNC, University of North Carolina.
Gotcha.
Not USC.
I was thinking for the other one.
So Drake May could potentially be the next, but the Patriots are funny like that. They could end up taking like a tackle, and
Well, those are not Bill we're talking about anymore.
Bill Belichick's Patriots be taking tackle. I go Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3, and then hope you can get a guy like Penix in the second round.
That's what I said.
And then Bo Nix.
Penix could be,
And then you just go with, you're going to have to go with Mac Jones for another year until he's done.
I'll tell you that for a fact. And now Miss Levy, on to the Giants. We're big New York Giants fans.
Yes, we are, Al.
Now, yes, Miss Levy is a big Giants and Yankees fan, which is awesome. I got some questions for you. The Giants need to make a splash, bro. They need everything, but they need a quarterback because Daniel Jones, he doesn't deserve $45 million.
He's not it. Daniel Jones
He's not
is
the answer, and he gets hurt every single year.
I'm hoping what the Giants do this year, especially in light of
They have the number 6 pick.
everything that unraveled this year, that they put some real good, let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, anyways, that they take the time to really properly scout out a new quarterback, because I think the Giants have an amazing team, right? We've got some pretty good wide receivers. If we can stack up our offensive line and make it way better to give whatever quarterback protection.
Jones isn't.
He suffered that neck injury yesterday or last year.
You could blame Jones though, but you also got to remember timing is key. And if you don't have that much time to throw, your quarterback's gonna get killed.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's not safe. For normal quarterbacks to get hit that much in the NFL, guaranteed your career is cut short. So the Giants need to build up their offensive line, which they have a few good of them. They need to get. The real question is Saquon Barkley. I do not want him walking. If he walks, the Giants are in trouble.
You really think so?
And it's very possible.
I think if he walks, it's going to open up a lot of money for us to get some new prospects.
Because of the money he wants.
Well, and think about how often he's been hurt, Al. Like really, as compare. I mean, I understand
I love
this
the guy,
year he
but
killed
you're right,
it.
though. You're right. But I still defended my player. He's the best player on our team.
Oh yeah, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but I just think with his track record of continuously getting injured, continuously missing games, asking for so much extra, it's only hurting the team. It's not helping.
And it's hurting their cap space.
It is big time, and we have the availability. If we were to drop him, we could get some killer wide receivers, some great cornerbacks in, and build that O line. We need an O line. We're never gonna have.
If you don't have a elite quarterback, offensive line, or a pass rush, you're never gonna be successful in the NFL.
Yeah,
ever.
No quarterback's going to want to play for us because if you're not protected, you think these guys want to go out and get nailed and have concussions or like neck injuries?
Or season-ending stuff, or might not be able to play ever again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Alex Smith. He got rocked. That's the way the cookie crumbles in the NFL, but you got to protect these guys.
These guys need protection, and if they don't get protection, they're going to go bye-bye real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And the Giants need to make some really big splashes. Like, they finished 5-12 or 6-11, 6-11, because they beat Philadelphia at the end of the year. Here's the thing. Now, we're stuck with Daniel Jones, but that does not mean because they said they don't want to take a quarterback in the draft because they want him to be the quarterback next year, which I don't agree with it. I don't agree. Thanks, Vince. I don't agree with that, really, because I don't think he's the answer, and he doesn't deserve the money that he's getting.
Yeah, I think with the neck injury he sustained at the end of the year last year, I just don't think. I think he's too much of a risk. Risk first reward, right? You got to look at that throughout pretty much your whole entire life, athlete or not. And I think risk first reward with keeping Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley on the Giants, it's only going to hurt us. I understand they're great players. I love them. I'm a diehard Giants fan. So are you. But that cap space, we need that cap space.
No, we do. But I don't want to walk away from Saquon. He might have had injury problems. Jones, I can really care less about because Jones is just an absolute waste. And he didn't even. The funny thing is, the year the Giants made it, he didn't have a good season. He had like 15 touchdowns for a quarterback in the NFL. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. And the Giants had the weakest schedule in the NFL. They were on paper they had the easiest schedule. They played 1 or 2 hard games, and the one game they played that was hard was against the Ravens. They didn't really play anybody that was killer lights out. Yeah. Now, if the Ravens had the team that they had this year, the Giants would have absolutely got smoked. So if we're talking right now, the Giants need everything, and they need to find a way. I want a quarterback in the draft. I know that that's probably not going to happen, but if I take somebody in the draft, I need a QB because it doesn't matter who's back there for you if your offensive line doesn't block, though. So, I mean,
do you know where the Giants are picking?
Number 6.
Oh, okay. So
You stand a chance.
should be some good selection.
You know
there.
they should take Tua's brother.
No,
You think he
no,
just declared for the draft?
No, he's not. The Giants
Tulia.
are not taking Talia Tungavailoa. I don't want anyone with the
Come
last name
on.
Tungavailoa on my team.
Imagine, come on.
Vince has an issue. Vince has
I mean,
Vince loves Tua.
I like Tua.
He has Tua
Yeah.
at his top 3 as quarterbacks. He's not even.
That was
close
last.
to
That was
list.
last year's.
That's
He was
this
really
year,
good.
too.
that
You
last
considered him
year.
this year a
he was
top
a good
3.
quarterback this
You
year.
can't let that. I put him top 3 last year, and
And you put him this year at top
No,
3.
I didn't
Yes,
put him
you
top
did.
Last year. And
Yes,
back
you-
this year, and actually.
He got
I
absolutely
like Tua.
smoked in the playoffs, and when I brought up Tua's name, he got all ticky about it because I was told him that he's a bust and he's awful.
Tua's
He's
alright.
not good, bro. He's absolutely terrible as a quarterback. What?
What about Ertz?
Oh,
Talent.
Zach Ertz.
Yeah, Zach Ertz
Oh.
got signed by the Lions because the
Yeah.
Lions.
Yeah, that is a good pickup for the Lions. It adds a
He's a
veteran.
practice squad player.
Well, they lost their backup tight end, Brock Wright, so they signed Zach Ertz, which I don't know. I mean, the line. I think Well, so that's a good segue into our next segment, which is this week's playoff matchup. So
I'm excited for
we
these,
got big
actually.
matchups this week. We got the Lions hosting. Are they hosting the Niners?
No, the Niners are hosting
Niners
the
are hosting the
Lions.
Lions.
And
and then
Niners still.
Debo
Debo
Samuel
is not
questionable,
still.
but he's expected to play actually. So
Okay.
the Niners are going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then we got Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes, and I feel like this is the matchup that everybody wants to see. Like I knew that Josh Allen was going to lose. Like we all knew the Bills aren't good, bro. Like
He was one Tyler Bass kick away from
Well,
at least
Tony
going to
Romo
overtime.
jinxed it. Tony Romo jinxed it. He said that Bass was 10-0 before he kicked that kick this season.
They always do that.
And
Every,
he ji- Yeah,
every time
well,
they say
last
something
name
like
Romo
that,
says
like,
that.
oh, this guy's made it. In basketball, it's like this guy's made his last 50 free throws, and then of course when
like
they
for
say
example,
that,
Curry's made like his last 53 throws. Oh wait, ding,
And
off
then-
the backboard.
yeah, it's that's why in baseball you don't talk about the no hitter when it's going on.
Exactly. We've done that a few times in our career, and then what happened to us with that? Exactly.
And then
So-
they let up a run. So
Exactly.
well, anyways, let's get back to the playoffs matchup. So we got Niners hosting the Lions, and then we got the Ravens hosting the Chiefs.
Yeah. So the Baltimore game is first. It's a 3:00 game.
It's the first game.
That's on Saturday. Are they
No,
doing one?
it's
They're
a-
both on Sunday.
It's Sunday.
Oh, okay. So they're not doing one Saturday, one
No.
Sunday.
No.
Okay.
Consecutive. But I mean,
Who you got, Vince? Let's hear your take on this. So all right. So let's start off with the
Ravens Chiefs.
Ravens Chiefs. Who you got?
I don't know. I haven't been following Baltimore that close, but I know that they're a solid team all around, and I think
Solid. They're like the best
No,
team in
I
the
don't
playoffs,
know.
dog.
I mean, Casey has been coming back. They're trying to show, they were almost not going to win their division. I mean, the West. So it's a good comeback for them. I think I'm going to take Baltimore, though, over this. I think Lamar is just going to I think he's gonna, like they did to the Houston. He's just gonna run round. He's just gonna keep running. So I don't think the Kansas is gonna stop him, even though Kansas has a amazing defensive line.
Yeah, their defensive line. What's his name?
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones, number 95, defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, is a absolute phenomenal beast. So this will be interesting. But I'm going with Baltimore, bro.
Yep. For what reason?
For specific reasons. Number one, their coach is a Christian, actually,
Okay.
and he gave his life to Christ, so I'm giving him that. Anyone that believes in Christ, I'm taking you. And Vince, that might make you laugh, but that's
No,
I'm just saying that's my faith, bro. And number two, Zay Flowers, Boston College stud, already having a great start to his career. So I'm taking the Ravens because it's Lamar Jackson's time. The Chiefs are going down. That's all I gotta say. They're done. Like, this is a different Ravens team. This is a team that is ready to go. Like, I feel like this game is going to be so close, but the Ravens are taking it 35-28. Mark my words.
Oh, wow, that's pretty specific. All right, I'm definitely going with the Baltimore Ravens. They're the elite team. I think between OBJ, Zay Flowers, that big running back that they have, Edwards.
Gus Edwards.
Yeah, and how fast Lamar Jackson is on his feet. I mean, like you said, against Houston, I would almost be willing to bet he rushes for over 60 yards, throws for 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers catches one of those easily. And with Mark Andrews back in, they're going to use him as like a
weapon.
distractor. And I think it's just going to go off like
And
crazy.
I got to say this, Miss Levy, that's perfect. That's such a good take. I like that. You got to understand now that Mark Andrews is back. The Ravens are they have this game. I have a weird feeling the Chiefs are going to be in this game the whole game, but I mark my words, the Ravens are winning 35-28, and it's going to be a walk-off tutty. It's going to be Lamar to Zay Flowers, 50 yards to the house, to the Super Bowl.
Zay
All right.
Flowers anytime touchdown. Take it.
All right.
So
Yeah, I'm gonna go Baltimore as well because Lamar Jackson. He is like the modern day Michael Vick. He's just hard. Well, yeah, except for the off-field issues, but he's just so slippery in the pocket. Like you cannot like the way he can extend plays, and if he looks downfield and sees nothing, he can easily just take it for a first down, and that's just tough to stop. And especially the fact that it's in Baltimore.
Chiefs playing their first road game in a long
Well,
time.
they beat the Buffalo on the road.
It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
Well, that was a big deal for sure.
but I think for sure it's going to be even a more hostile environment in Baltimore, and they're just tough to stop. They have 2 really good tight ends. They got Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews as Miss Levy. Yeah, Likely has really stepped up, and Mark
Isaiah
Andrews.
Likely is a good little tight end. Well, not little, he's big.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
I wouldn't say little, but he is a big guy.
Well, he filled in very admirably for Mark Andrews. He picked the production really didn't drop off at all
no,
at the tight
absolutely
end.
not.
And plus they got Lamar is basically a running back. You got
He's
Gus.
gonna win the MVP.
You got Gus Edwards.
sure.
You got Justice Hill. They got just a great rushing attack.
All right, Mr. Forney, we need your picks, brother. You did 2 really
And also
outrageous
Kansas-
takes.
Kansas
Is
left.
he going to play
Sure.
devil's advocate and go with Kansas City?
No.
Thank you.
I took Baltimore to win the Super Bowl back in September. I'm sticking with them.
That's sort of one of my friends.
I'm
actually,
worried about
so.
Lamar Jackson getting over the hump, but I think that the Chiefs have taken away so many of Mahomes' weapons that now he's got basically Travis Kelce and then Kadarius Toney and McCole Hardman and
Marcus
just
Valdez-Scantling.
Like it's just not going to get it done.
Bunch of nobodies.
I remember Mahomes in the Super Bowl just running for his life, chucking it up, and I feel like that's what it's going to be, where he's just every single pass, time he goes back, he's going to be rolling out of the pocket looking for somebody to dump it to, and I don't see that happening. So, yeah, I'm going Baltimore. And then
We're doing the NFC Championship now. So we got
Oh.
the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff that's came a really long way. I got to say, I got to give it up for Jared Goff, bro. He's came such a long way. And this Lions team's special, and they're
He
facing.
made a Super Bowl with the Rams.
No, he did, but I'm saying he's came a long way from this. So we got Goff versus Purdy in Detroit, San Francisco Sunday at 6:30.
Oh, me? I'm a back the I'll take the Lions on this one. I'll back Campbell.
That's the.
I think the Niners have been cracking down. I know they don't have Debo.
He's gonna play, bro.
They're gonna 49ers are gonna play 49ers ball, but I think Detroit is just gonna come in with like this pure just adrenaline, and this like with Ertz too filling in that tight end role. Amon-Ra, I think he's gonna have a phenomenal game. But I see Detroit going to the Super Bowl.
You know, my best friend's a big San Francisco 49ers fan, so I'm taking the Niners here. I feel like this is their time to break the hump of the NFC Championship game, because when it comes to this game, the Niners cannot win the NFC Championship, and they've always had this monkey on their back to know that this is it. This is their time to shine. And for my wild score prediction, I don't know if you heard it, Forney, I chose the Ravens on a walk-off tutty with Zay Flowers.
Love
and
a
that
good
place
tutty.
is going to jump out of joy. And for this game, it's a little different. It's going to be a field goal, but with like 30 seconds. So I got Niners pulling it 31-28 to go to the bowl.
It's a high-scoring game.
Both defenses, we all know these games are going to be really high-scoring games, to be honest with you. The offenses and everything, so.
I think that Jared Goff is going to inevitably do Jared Goff things, which is throw bad interceptions at bad times. He tried to throw away the game last week. He threw what should have been a pick six, and the guy dropped it. That could have been a huge turning point in the game, so it's only a matter of time till Jared Goff does something stupid. And I think that that's going to be a big difference in the game. So I'll take the Niners just because I don't trust Jared Goff.
All right. And Miss Levy, who you got?
All right. So I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions. And I'm picking the Detroit Lions because you got Joseph as in the backfield watching Purdy. He's going to be looking for those picks right and left. When Purdy goes for that long throw to Ayuk, he's going to be right there. And you got Hutch. And the only person that can go up against Hutch, I don't even think Hutchinson, I mean, that man is a monster. He gets at
He's
least
a rookie. He just started,
2.5
too.
sacks
Yeah,
a game.
exactly.
So I think Purdy is going to have his hands full with him. I do agree that San Francisco is stacked. My biggest question would be for as far as like being comfortable and having that type of experience in that atmosphere. I think Goff has more of the resilience when it comes to that versus Purdy maybe getting a little bit more in his head. So we'll see, but I'm going to take Detroit for sure. And I take them +7 or -7, I guess you could say.
All right. And you know what? I'm going to go with the Lions as well. My pick, on the last podcast, my pick was Detroit and Buffalo to be in the Super Bowl. And unfortunately,
So long to that, brother.
I was one Tyler Bass kick away from maybe that, potentially that happening. But, I actually do think, I love Dan Campbell. I think he is going to – I think his guys just believe in him, and he believes in his guys. He's the kind of coach that football players love to play with. Like, he is going to have them ready to play. He's going to have them emotionally charged to play some hard football in that game. And I think, Detroit, they play like they, with a chip on their shoulder. And not to mention, they're a very good team. I mean, they have weapons galore on that team. You got David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, such a great running back tandem.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is a really good player.
Yeah, and then David Montgomery is a very solid, like between the tackles runner. And then you got, and then you got Laporta, and then you got Amon-Ra, who's like a very shifty slot receiver. And then you got,
Came up with 2 touchdowns last week.
yeah, and then you got some of these other guys like Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond, I believe. So really good team. And Dan Campbell, Dan Campbell's one of these guys. I don't know how, he's a very kind of I don't know if he's such a strategic coach. I think he's kind of one of these guys. He'll go for it on fourth down a lot and stuff like that. He just, I know NFL has turned into like the analytics, like, analytics say you should do this here and that. But Dan Campbell, he's just a guy. He's going to have his team ready to play and ready to win. So I think they're going to advance to the Super Bowl against the Ravens, and it should be really cool if that does happen. And Detroit has been bad for so long. It'd be nice to see them.
I don't think they haven't won a bowl before. So I mean, I get why you guys are going with Detroit, but I gotta stick with San Francisco. I like Detroit. I do like Dan Campbell for sure because they've proven a lot, and they deserve to be where they're at right now for sure.
Yeah, and the Niners D-line also young and.
I mean,
Bosa.
well, Nick Bosa, the guy you really got to watch out for. If I'm Detroit, you watch out for Nick Bosa. If Nick Bosa comes at you, you're done because I would say that. But Bosa is a tough guy to be stacked up. He's the type of guy, if you get past their offensive line, he will sack you 3 or 4 times a game, maybe even force a fumble.
Well, I do think like Miss Levy said, if Brock Purdy. If the lights are, he's done a phenomenal job this year. But if he does happen to kind of crumble in the
Fall
moment,
down to earth.
yeah, if he's not moving the ball, if he's not picking up first downs on, 3rd and long or whatever, if McCaffrey's not running the ball that great, I could easily see San Fran, not quite cohesive on offense and then get outscored by Detroit. So. It's very well possible. Brock Purdy's done an amazing job, but we'll see if he can.
Well, out of all these quarterbacks in the playoffs, the Final Four, he's definitely a B+ guy.
He's the biggest liability, probably.
He's the number 4 quarterback for sure.
Jared Goff's been very just steady.
It goes Mahomes, Lamar, and then Goff, and then Purdy. So and I'm not dissing Purdy at all because he's brought them to the NFC Championship. He's a big factor. But, you got to understand, it's put up or shut up now. So, either way, San Francisco needs to prove that they can win an NFC championship game and get back to the big one because San Francisco is trying to make history, and they're trying to tie New England for the most Super Bowls ever.
True. I think one important thing for San Francisco is going to be just holding on to that ball, not dropping it.
Absolutely.
There were so many times in the games in the past couple weeks where
especially against Green Bay.
Kittle dropped it, Ayuk dropped it. I mean, and these are all very important catches.
Players.
Yeah, I mean, same thing happened to the Bills. Look, I mean, Diggs dropped that 47-yard catch right at the 10-yard line.
And
that would have made
Stephon Diggs already
huge
requested a
difference.
trade from Buffalo, by the way. So.
I could have seen that one coming.
I think he retracted that. I think he
But
stayed
yeah,
with the Bills.
I think
We'll see.
I think if the wide receivers can hold
probably
on to the
know.
ball, San Francisco stands a good chance. But if they keep dropping the balls like they do with those rockets that Purdy throws, it's going to prove because I don't know if they focus on the run game.
You see, if you can't run here's the problem. If you have a good run offensive play, you have Christian McCaffrey as a running back. He's probably, in my mind, the best running back. If not, no, probably not. Probably he is the best running back in the NFL. You put him back there and he has a field day, the Niners could be in great shape. But if the Lions stack that defensive line, they stuff them for losses of yards on every single play, the Niners could have their hands full. Either way, I feel like whoever shuts down the run game in this game is going to have a big success for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's what the Niners do. If Purdy's not throwing it well, I think if you just give it to McCaffrey, he's going to eat. But I think if they just shut McCaffrey down, I think that'd be good. I think they'll do
He's
it.
hungry, bro. He needs to feast. For real.
Yeah, either one. Whoever shuts down the running and takes advantage of passing, whoever has more success with passing is going to win.
Well, it's always whoever holds the team to less points. If whoever doesn't score,
That's
the name of the
that's how you
game.
win.
I know that's so basic and so obvious, but if both defenses can, someone tells me this game's not going to be a defensive game. This game's going to be a high-scoring game, and I know it's kind of hard to say because both of them had good defenses. Same with the Ravens-Chiefs games. These games could be low-scoring, but I feel like whoever snags out the last scores is going to take it and go to the bowl, which I know that sounds so obvious and so generic because that's what anyone would say. But something tells me these two games are going to be, the best, one of the best playoff games we'll see, if not two.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
these matchups are so – everyone's going to be watching this, so there's nothing else better that's going to be on that anyone else is not going to watch.
Yeah, both matchups have really good storylines.
For sure.
And just overall, these are the 4 teams that probably deserve to be there. I mean, they've I mean, Kansas City had their hiccups through the regular season, but
Well, they're back where they need to
they're
be now.
you know
Same place they were last year.
they're kind of they're like the Patriots were for 20 years. Like they find a way to get to the AFC Championship, and every year they're knocking on the door of winning a Super Bowl. So, credit to Mahomes, and the Chiefs and Andy Reid and all them. But hopefully, we're looking at a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl, in my opinion.
I got Ravens-Niners.
All right.
You guys all got Ravens-Lions. I got Ravens-Niners.
We'll see.
My pick is still going to stand.
Yeah, we'll see
We'll
who's
still
correct.
I see by Monday for sure.
We'll see if
but
you can take your victory lap next podcast.
It won't really bother me. It's not like my team got knocked out and I'm
Yeah.
all disappointed about it.
Either way, it should be a very, very exciting day.
Weekend of football.
Weekend of playoff football. We'll have a lot to talk about on the next podcast for sure.
Which that next podcast, Vince, will be in a couple weeks because remember we're back in academics next week. So that pretty much wraps it up, Vince. I mean, we pretty much talked about everything, unless you have Bruins talk that you want to talk about.
No. I mean, 5-game win streak. They're doing good, but no.
Nothing really big, nothing really major.
We'll end on the NFL because that's the big.
That's
that's the big topic.
We always save because if it's now time, we always save this for last.
Save the best for last. So that I'm really looking forward to watching that.
I am for sure too. It's gonna be fun. Well, Miss Levy, excellent job.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Much appreciated,
You will
guys.
definitely be back on the show. I'm getting
thank
you
you.
back on here. Turgeon, you always have a special spot here, so you'll be here too.
Thank you.
I'll definitely have maybe next time we do have the show, it'd be that week of Super Bowl Sunday. So I'll bring you guys both back on for that actually, so we can make our Super Bowl prediction to see if your guys' stands are mine stands. So
That'll be awesome.
Vince, always a pleasure, brother. Alan Vince's Sports Talk out.